Hello and welcome to the Hot Seat TV. I'm your host, Matt Randall, and here with me today we have Eric Robinson, co-owner of Web-Impac.com, and Glenn Graham, who's the Chief Information Officer of Web-Impac.com. And the question we have today is, how do you know, if you own a website, how do you know if somebody likes one product over another one? And believe it or not, that seems like a simple question, but nobody has done this yet, except for the team at Web-Impac. And we're here to discuss the technology behind this and how that affects people who might be selling products on the website. So Eric, welcome back to the program.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And Glenn, welcome to the program for the first time.
Thank you.
So glad you guys are here today. What is this? It seems like a simple question. If I have a website and I have many products for sale, but I want to know if somebody prefers the blue or the red, why is that so difficult? Why is this earth-shattering to anybody?
Well, what we provide is we provide a neutral forum for corporations or organizations to put their products or their services side by side on the internet. And then we allow the public to come in and vote which one they like. So the power of our software is to give them the opportunity to vote on what we call this or that. And so that's it in a nutshell. And it really is something that we feel is going to be very hot with the public, and that is a way that they can go in and register how they like one thing against the other.
Now, how is this different from a product rating? For instance, you buy something and the company sends you a survey and asking you how you felt about it, the shipping, the quality, and so forth. How does this differ?
Well, as explained on my last program, we do have that capability. In fact, this capability has been an outgrowth of that of those products that we have, where people can qualify their vote on a particular item, a web page, a product, a service. What this does is it gives a comparison between two things or more. You can feature up to 5 individual products and ask the public, which one would you go with? So it's more definitive. In other words, it's saying, which one of these things would you choose? Can't choose two. You can only choose one. So from a marketing standpoint, it really asks the voter to make up their mind, not to say on a scale of 1 to 5, but to say, do you want this or compared to the others or not?
So does this in effect turn the audience on your website, audience or visitors maybe is a better term, into a focus group?
Yes.
For your products?
Yes.
So you don't have to pull people in a room any longer and have them hash it out.
That's right. Well, the traditional focus group is to go out and get a number of people. It's a study of demographics, and then you bring them in and you have a discussion with them. You have surveys, etc. What we do is a lot simpler, but much more broad, because we put it on the internet, which means the entire world gets to vote on your product or your service. So that's what's very unique. In other words, the world is your focus group. So if you have a product and you really want to know what the world feels about it, go ahead and put it up on our neutral website and find out how the world feels about it, one item compared to another. Now, if you happen to have an item in which there is no comparative competitor, then it won't work, because you need at least a minimum of 2 items, and then you put them up, and then we allow the public to vote on it from there.
Now, in my recollection, somewhere back in the 80s, there was a big dispute. Is it Coke or Pepsi?
That's right.
Right? And people, they spent millions and millions of dollars marketing these on television primarily, and billboards and everywhere else, asking the public to vote basically with their dollars. So, and I don't recall who won, but I think at one point they both claimed to have won. So a company now, I can imagine, spends a whole lot less putting this on their website and asking people to vote Is it this one or that one?
Right.
Right.
Well, Coke and Pepsi, you know, they don't have too much to worry about because they're. I think that when you know, it may be interesting to them if they had the whole world vote on Coke and Pepsi, but the way that they've done it traditionally has been very expensively, and again, focus groups and going to particular markets and spending you know, extreme amount of cash. Assembling these very, and there's nothing wrong with that. That you know, marketing will always do that. Look for particular kinds of people to vote on their product. But what we will do here is that we will offer you an opportunity, very, very simply, to vote on, do you like this one or that one? And the demographics is, as I said, it's the world.
So now, Glenn, as the CIO, you're behind the software and the website development,
Right. Yes.
all of that. Is this complicated for somebody who owns a small business to add to their website?
No, it's actually very simple. And one of the things we spend a lot of time doing is the complexity is within the development that we've done to be able to provide something that's very simple to implement. It is simple to operate and can simply, well, using the word simply a lot, but that's just because it is. Some of the unique things we have are, unlike some products that get added into a website, this does not execute any code on your website. So some people would have concerns about security and things. This product could potentially be approved by the government, who has very strict requirements of not letting foreign software be in their website. But some of the other things are, as Eric was mentioning, we've simplified it in terms of the focus group, but we can actually do a lot of complex things with that information.
Well, that's a great idea. Two things that caught me right away is this is not part of the company's website, you're saying, so there's no security issue. There's no software infiltrating somebody's secure site.
That's correct.
Right.
Yes.
And then
The other thing about that, Matt, is that if Pepsi puts up a comparison with Coca-Cola on their website, it's self-serving, or vice versa. What we provide is a neutral territory. We're not Coke, we're not Pepsi. So now when we compare the two products, one against the other, we are providing that neutral forum for those customers to then not feel like they're pressured. Obviously, if someone's going to Coca-Cola to their website, they're probably already interested in Coca-Cola. So the data is going to be skewed by just natural human tendency. But when they come to our neutral forum, it's they could be a Pepsi lover, or they could be a Coca-Cola lover, and not feel like they're being pressured one way or the other.
Well, that's very interesting. Going back to the second point that hit me, Glenn, was you're saying it provides more information. I mean, so far I'm thinking, well, they've chosen red or blue, or green or yellow, or BMW versus Audi, whatever it happens to be.
Right.
What more information can you get from this?
Well, because this is on the web, then we actually can determine a lot of demographics about the voter. So, for example, we can determine where they are in the world. We can determine things like what time did the vote occur. So, for example, if it were Coke and Pepsi and they were interested, do their customers or people that like their product tend to be night owls or daytime people? There's just all sorts of different bits of information that can be derived from this.
Well, that sounds interesting. So I can study my demographics a little bit. But does that make the vote that people cast less anonymous?
No, it doesn't, because the data that we're capturing is it's the type of analytical data. Part of it is what Google Analytics captures. So anybody who browses the web, and a lot of people don't know it, your IP address from where you're logging on from, that's known to wherever you go to. So you can't stop it. You can go to some websites that provide like a mask to it, but in general, you can determine at least where in the world someone is. Now, it doesn't reduce it down to which home or which person. It's just in generalities, but at least that gives you some global understanding and location.
So if I understand you then, unless I'm tech savvy enough to enlist the aid of some sort of disguising software,
Right.
so I can spy the web without being spied upon,
Right.
whenever I go to a website or vote on anything, somebody's going to know generally where I am or which computer
Yes.
it came from.
Right, and that's why if you probably notice that anytime you go to a website, or especially if you search on any product, for the next 2 weeks, every website you go to, all the ads that are in the margin happen to be the same type of product you searched. So.
Yes. Yes, I've noticed that. I've always wondered how Facebook knew what I bought on Amazon.
Right.
And now that makes more sense.
Yes.
But please keep in mind that we're not in the business of collecting information from people. So you'll notice that when you go to this neutral forum, that we won't ask you your name, we won't ask you your address or any other personal information. We just want your vote. And we are not there to collect data on individuals. And I think that's important to keep the vote as, again, as neutral as possible. And we don't want people feeling like we're collecting information on them.
Well, let me see if I can recap a little bit then. As a website owner, I can put this button on my page, and I can determine a couple of items for people to vote on, which they like best or worst or whatever it happens to be.
Well, let me stop you there, because on my previous program we talked about Web-Impac's voter button, whereas you're putting it on your web page so people can vote on how well they like your website or how well they like a product on your website. What's different on the World Vote Forum is that we're not asking about, or we're not offering a product where you can ask people how they feel about your website or your product specifically and rate it from 1 to 5. On this forum, we're asking people to vote on comparison, you know, Pepsi versus Coke, this versus that, whatever. So it's a little bit different. So therefore, some of how we're collecting information and how we're processing it, the algorithms involved in the other products do not exist here, because this is not so much on the other products. We're doing a public relations assessment. On this, it's very simple. It's a focus group that just simply asks you to vote on which product you like.
Okay, so that's the this or that button that we're talking about.
Well, yeah, the neutral forum where people can come in and vote on what they like the best.
Okay, and I think for the audience's purpose, it's actually called the this or that. Correct?
Yeah, when you get down to, remember, the button is your graphic interface with the public.
Right.
But it's, you know, what's important is what goes on, the data that's being collected behind that. In this particular product, the important focus of the data is raw vote. In other words, on this product, you got X amount of raw votes. On that product, you have X amount of raw votes, and therefore you have a winner in the end.
Okay. Yeah. So when we're talking about the this or that button, a website owner can collect information on people's preferences on certain products or services, which one they like more, this or that, or maybe even more. There's more than just 2 choices, as I understand, correct?
Well, we can provide you up to 5 choices.
Okay.
So if you're a corporation with 5 products and you want to know, you're thinking about eliminating a product, but you can't decide which product you want to eliminate. So you put your 5 products up there, and whatever one gets the least amount of votes, you say, okay, well, let's eliminate that product. So you see how that becomes useful for a corporation.
Sure.
Or an organization. By the way, it's not only products, but it could be services. So you could represent your service that you provide by simply, a brief description under which there would be a vote button. So you may say, that we offer golf lessons. Compare that against tennis lessons. And then the person says, oh, I'd rather do golf lessons, and they press on that button. So then you may then decide that golf lessons are going to be the next thing that you offer in your portfolio. So that's how this is a bit different than the other products we offer. Whereas again, it's a qualifying vote on a website, on a product or a service on a 1 to 5 star basis, with complicated public relation algorithms. Here again, we're just comparing one thing against the other, and we're offering that forum. So remember, we're not introducing this on the owner's website. We're introducing this on a neutral website that we control, and therefore keep it neutral. And there can be no funny business in terms of pumping up the vote or whatever. So again, that's why we call it a neutral forum.
Well, that's an interesting point, because an owner who purchases this and hosts it on their website, they really can't control the customer feedback, so they can't artificially change the numbers.
That's right.
That's actually very good. Yes. But going back to what you said, Glenn, it also provides some interesting demographics. Yes. Time of day, location, so customers can find if, or website owners can find if customers in the South prefer something different from customers in the North, for instance, or the East Coast versus West Coast, or U.S. versus France.
Exactly. And in addition to that, well, what the customer can do is at some point they can make a change. So, for example, they introduce a new version of their product or something. Now they can see what effect that had on the continuing vote. So they can determine if maybe that was a good thing or that was a bad thing. If you think about when the new Coke came out, that was terrible.
It was. Big flop.
And what maybe Coke would have found out sooner was that the worldwide opinion was bad before they let it exist for so long.
And at the same time, from the customer's point of view, this is still anonymous.
Yes.
They're not giving up any of their personal information.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
That sounds like a win-win overall.
Well, we feel that's important. Even under traditional focus groups, personal information is taken by each member of the focus group. Whereas in our case, no, we just want to know whether or not you like Coke, or whether or not you like Pepsi, or whether or not you like skiing, or whether or not you like golf. So we don't really need to know that you're between the ages of 40 and 50. Or that you're of this religion or this race or that race. We don't really need to know that. We just need to know which is it that you prefer, this or that.
Right. Well, it sounds like really valuable information for a company, and a safe, easy way for consumers to offer feedback, which is fantastic. But speaking of this or that, I understand that this year is very special, and you've chosen to introduce the this or that button in a very unique and, let's say, controversial way. Can you tell a little bit about that?
Yes, we're launching this or that product by featuring Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. And we call it the 2016 World Vote. As you know, there's a proliferation of pollsters out there, so we don't really call ourselves a competitor. This isn't really a scientific poll, but what it is we offer this or that, Hillary or Donald. And again, we take great pains to remain neutral, and we simply host this neutral forum, and we ask the public, wherever they are, they can be in Tibet, or they could be in Cleveland, Ohio, and they can go on, anyone that can go on the internet, wherever you are in the world, on your phone, on your laptop, on your desktop, and you can vote And what we're going to do is we're going to collect these votes, and then at some point, I think that probably by the end of September of this year, we'll declare a world vote winner. Now, keep in mind that may be very much different than the actual winner, because remember, the whole world is joining in. But what the information we will get from this is that we'll get the rest of the world's feeling about who we are as a nation, and who we then decide is going to be what is kind of the assumed to be the world leader, which is always the President of the United States.
Now, you gentlemen brought in a very funny video introducing the VoteThisOrThat.com button. Do you mind if we show that for a moment?
We're here live at Web-Impac Mobile Studios right outside the White House. And as the pressure of this election keeps building, there's only one question on America's mind. Will the voters go for this, or will they go for that?
Well, I know my opponent would never support that. That is why I am voting for that.
I've always had an affection for this, and everyone knows this. That is why I am voting for this.
While I am in favor of not supporting this for that, I will be supporting this instead of that.
So you're voting for that?
No, I'm voting for this.
Oh, I'm voting for this too.
I thought you were voting for that.
No, not that, just this.
So you are voting for this?
No, did you not hear what I just said? You have a huge wall in your ear?
Do you have an
I
air
am
of
voting for this,
amnesia around
not
you?
that.
Did you not hear us talking about this instead of that? Or was it that instead of this? Bill?
So, reporting live from the Web-Impac Mobile Studios.
So let that be your first impression.
Now, that was very funny, and I appreciate that it didn't lean towards one candidate or the other. I think everybody can get a good laugh from it, but the most important point is that they can go and actually use the button. So go to VoteThisOrThat.com to give it a try. Interesting, because as you said, it's not a scientific vote. I'm thinking that theoretically I could go on and vote 100 times for one candidate or the other.
Now, we're going to make that difficult for you, though.
You are?
Yeah, we don't want ballot box stuffing. I guess if if you're a hacker and you're determined to do it, can
I pause you there for a second?
Sure.
As a company, as a small company putting out one product versus another, my competitor, you're saying it'd be difficult for a competitor to hack into my system and vote 100 times for the one they know darn well's a loser.
Right.
Right. So that can't happen.
Well, we're not going to give you, again, our math or our algorithms, because then they would be easily defeated. But we take great pains to make sure that folks do not stuff the ballot box, because then the integrity of our information is very important to us.
Okay. So, well, that's good to know. So in terms of the world votes, will, in the end, you say end of September maybe, we'll know Europe's preference versus America, South America, Africa, Asia, all over the world, who they think should be.
Actually, in this case, as Eric was saying, we simply are just gathering the totals. So in the World Votes program, there's no other identifying thing. So we will just have the total. So we won't be able to say, this is what Europe did, this is what Asia did. It would just be the total number.
Okay. All right. Darn.
So totally anonymous.
No, we won't be able to say that, Four Corners, Nebraska voted for Hillary or Trump. We won't be able to say that. And we don't really, it's really not important to us. Remember, we are a world community, and people, transportation has never been as easy or as inexpensive or as efficient as it in all of human history. So people move around, and that's the reality of the world. So we are becoming more of a community, and And that's where we're tapping into this, where no other pollsters have ventured to go. I seen the other day, though, what is called the Triple P poll. They did some surveying of international countries, and that is how those countries feel about Donald versus Hillary. And they came up with some numbers, and I don't remember them off the top of my head. I think you can probably look it up. But in any case, there is every now and then a little bit of dabbling from the traditional pollsters into the international vote, or the international feeling of who we're choosing as our next president. But again, this is offering something very quick, very simple. You do no survey, you enter no personal information about yourself. You simply go and you vote.
Okay. So I go to a site, I vote this or that.
You can do it.
I'm all done. Takes seconds.
You can do it now. You can do it now. You can go to our website, to our neutral this or that location, and you can vote either Hillary or Clinton. I mean, Hillary or Donald, sorry.
In fact, the easiest way, just go to, in your browser, votethisorthat.com, and the page comes up, and you can click. One click, and you're done.
Okay, so votethisorthat.com.
Yes.
That sounds like fun. I'm sure a lot of people are going to have a great time playing around with that, and companies are now going to have a new tool for creating much easier focus groups.
Right. And also just to maybe explain a little bit more, while the vote this or that is totally anonymous, the only thing we're collecting is the total votes, and that's it. This tool that we have, the this or that button, we can actually do a lot more. So if a company wants to know the demographics and things, we can actually do that. So it has a wide range of capabilities.
Wow.
We can custom make some of your, if a company comes to us and they say, we like this standard product, this base product, but we want to customize it to take in some additional demographics, we can do that. Because it's, we would put our software team, in which Glenn heads, and we would come up with something special for whatever it is that you want to do. But what we're offering as a base package is a very neutral website, web page that you can put your products up on and have the world vote on which they prefer.
This is really exciting new technology.
It is. It's fun.
Yeah. I want to thank you very much for being here, Eric again, and Glenn for being on the show today. I think this is something that website owners will find very interesting and very attractive, and that consumers will give them much more of a vote, as you say, in what companies are presenting on their website and the product choices they may have in the future, and maybe the direction the company should go with an entire product line.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it all starts with whether or not they want this or that, Mrs. Clinton or Mr. Trump, as a really interesting, controversial introduction to the software.
That's right.
So let's have some fun with that. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find out more on votethisorthat.com. My name is Matt Randall. I'm your host at Timberwolf Coaching, and you can reach me at timberwolfcoaching.com. And again, I'd like to thank Eric and Glenn for joining us on the program today.
Thank you, Matt.